Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mom Meets Life. I am your host, Sarah. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about my divorce. Ooh, what a topic to go through. But you know what? I just had an anniversary that I completely forgot about. And I think it's time to get like 50 cent level petty about this. No, I'm not going to get petty, but it is time to tell my story. And I'm really excited to be able to do that now. So let's get into it. Okay, so last week we talked about my work trip to San Antonio. It was fabulous. I met some amazing coworkers. I felt really confident in my career. I haven't felt confident for some time. I've always been confident, but when you've been at different companies so often and you try different things, sometimes it just wears you out. You're like, is it me? Is it the industry? Like, what's going wrong here? So to be able to be around people that I genuinely cared for and genuinely felt connected with, and to be part of something that felt bigger than just my role was pretty awesome. So it was a good trip overall. When you go on a work trip and come home, like your mom duties, it's like if you take PTO from work and you come back and you have to like do all the work you missed from that week. Technically, if you take a week off, you don't really get a week off. You're still doing a week's worth of work, whether it's before you leave or after you leave or a combination of the two. Like, you're going to make that work up. So the same goes for being a mom. When you are out of town, your kids like need you when you come back. Like, you missed this, and this. Like, your house is a mess. I did hire a house cleaner, which was super helpful. I've never like done that on a consistent basis, but recently I've done it because I'm like, fuck it. I earn money. I can use my money how I feel like using my money. So I did have a house cleaner come, which was amazing, but you still have a lot of stuff you have to follow up with. So I am tired. It's been a week of catching up with work, catching up with my kids, catching up with my friends, all of the things. But happy to be home, happy to be making another episode. And in the chaos of everything, I forgot that my 2-year anniversary of being divorced just happened. It happened and I didn't even know. I remember the first year I was like, it's been 1 year since the day that my ex-husband and I decided to call it quits after 21 years, and we made it official over a Zoom meeting. Like, it was literally a Zoom meeting that I didn't even attend because I wasn't the plaintiff, if that gives you an indication of how this all went down. I was the one who did not ask for the divorce. So because he did, he had to show up to the Zoom meeting. And because of his job, he, works with them. He's a law enforcement officer. So he just got to like hang out with the judge and be like, yep, I left my wife. Anyway, a year, like the 1 year anniversary was really tough for me because I'm like, everything's just, it's so hard to be alone and learn yourself. And I was a mess. Like a year later, I was still a mess because we had been together for 21 years. But apparently, I don't know, not everyone heals the way that I do. And we're going to get into that. But, he was, let's see, at that point, uh, 2 months away from getting married. So, yeah, we'll get into that. So, because I've been catching up with work, I haven't had a lot of fun me time. I've just been busy. So, I don't have any really exciting stories to tell you. But I think today's episode is going to take up the majority of the time. So, we are going to focus solely on this story. When everything first went down, I used to be a pseudo influencer on TikTok, I guess you could say. I made a TikTok when I had a brain injury. I had a brain injury from the Johnson & Johnson vaccine that nearly took me out. It was not a good time. I simply shared my story on TikTok and my TikTok went viral. It blew up. I got a ton of followers and they stayed with me through the years. And when everything went down with my divorce, I was sharing my story, and a lot of people in my town and at my ex-husband's place of employment followed me on TikTok and they knew what I was talking about. Never once did I name names. I can say that I wasn't the nicest person in the world, but I was pretty pissed when I found out what I found out. So I was sharing things on TikTok. And being the wife of a law enforcement officer, there is a conversation you have at some point where you have to dull yourself to make sure that they can shine. And that's the nicest way of saying it. And I will say it that way because I'm not afraid to say it now. You have to make sure that anything you're doing in the public looks good for them. They are typically, if you're part of a sheriff's office, there's an elected official, and anyone who works under that sheriff is a representation of the sheriff, which is ironic because I've seen many of these people in my town out cheating on their wives on a regular basis, making out with random women at bars, thinking that no one sees them because their brotherhood won't say anything. I'll say it. I don't care. You don't scare me. I see you out there cheating on your wives, kissing women at the bar, hanging out, grabbing ass, thinking you're holier than thou on your fourth marriage, and you're sitting there with your tobacco chew like, yeah, I got this. You don't. You look trashy, and I'm going to call it out. Anyway, I digress. Don't get me wrong. I love our men and women in blue. I think what they do is incredible. They sacrifice their whole lives to take care of us, and I think what they do is fabulous. But there is a very, very high divorce rate and infidelity rate in law enforcement. I'm not calling people out. I'm not naming names. I work in data. I work in facts, and the data supports what I'm telling you, that a lot of law enforcement officers cheat on their spouses. But anyway, if you're married to one of them, you are asked very nicely to be careful about what you say online. Well, now that I'm no longer a law enforcement spouse, I don't give a flying fuck. My name is my name. When I got a divorce, I remember the lady came in when we were signing. I said, you don't have to do this. Like, even up until the point that we signed, I said, you don't have to do this. Like, we can still make it work. And he looked me dead in the eye and said, I've been gone a long time. It's already been done. And right after he said that, the woman came in and she's like, wait, you wanted to change back to your maiden name, right? And he's like, no, 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 she's keeping mine. I said, no, I'm taking my maiden name back. And I was fucking done. So I have my own name that is not associated with this man's name at all. And I can say what I want, how I want, when I want, whenever I feel like. Obviously, I'm not going to make threats. I'm not going to be tacky. I'm not going to say, oh, here's a name of someone who's doing this and that, but I am allowed to be myself for the first time in a really long time. So with my former TikTok, I had at one point I had 100,000 followers. It dropped down to about 80,000 by the time I deactivated it. I didn't just deactivate it, I deleted it. I wanted nothing with my past. I didn't want to be continually reminded that I'm the girl with the brain injury. Then I'm the girl whose husband left her. Like, it's just, it's not embarrassing. It's my life, but that's not who I want to be. It's a part of who I am. It's shaped me into who I am, but that's not all me. When I had my TikTok and I was going through my divorce and going through the stages of grief and all the things, I would make funny videos. Most of my videos were funny. They were just ridiculously goofy, like, I'm single now, blah, blah, blah. But I never named names. I never blamed. I just said what happened. And everyone watched it. Anyone who I knew was watching my TikToks. And now with this podcast, they may be watching this podcast. I don't care. But at that time, it was highly visible and people that he worked with knew about it. And I don't think he wanted his business out there, but I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry. It's my business. What you do is on you. If it affects my life and it happened to me, I'm allowed to fucking talk about it. And for so long, I was told, because you're married to law enforcement, you can't say this, you can't say that. Do you know how diminishing that is as a person, how demeaning that is as a woman to be told you will stand by your husband and his career and you will do so with a smile on your face, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and be proud of who he is, even though you can't be your true self? What an absolute failure on society for making that be a thing in the 2000s. If this were the 1950s, whatever. But the fact that we have made it this far for people to tell women, and men have to do this too if they're married to a female law enforcement officer, but oh, you can't say this because you're married to law enforcement. Then I don't want to be married to law enforcement. So when I first got married, my ex was not in law enforcement. He had a completely different career. We made a decision as a couple that I would be okay with this if he didn't lose himself in it. And he absolutely lost himself in it, as most law enforcement officers do. Anyway, with my TikTok, I was putting my story out there. And, I had former in-law family members watching it. I got a message once from I'm not going to say who it was, but she said, honey, I hope that you don't talk about this girl on TikTok anymore. It's beneath you. I was like, oh, you mean the girl that you said was too trashy and my ex would never be with? That one? Oh, okay. I'll stop talking about her. So yeah, if you ever text me and say, oh, you probably shouldn't do this, I'm probably going to do it 10 times over and then send you the proof of doing it. So today we're going to get into the story of how I got a divorce. It's a doozy, so bear with me. This is not to call anyone out. This is for my own therapeutic reasons. The fact that I have talked to other people about this and learned that a lot of people have been through something similar is terrifying. I mean, not my exact situation, because when you hear it, you're going to be like, what? And I would like to preface this with, I am not getting involved in anything legal. I am not calling people out so they'll come after me. I'm not going to use names. Like, I'm not just stirring the pot. This is not something that I'm doing. I'm telling my story because for a long time, I was told specifically I'm not allowed to tell my story. And here's why. When you are a law enforcement officer in my county, especially, you are a representative of our elected sheriff. And whatever you do could look bad or good, however you look at it, for the sheriff. And as an elected official, anyone underneath the sheriff is expected to act in a certain manner. I'm sorry, but if you're the one doing the shitty behavior and I'm the one who simply is talking about how it affected my life because it happened to me, that sounds like a you problem, not a me problem. And if you're making your elected official look bad, I'm sorry to say, also not a me problem. So my ex-husband and I met when I was in high school. It was my first day of my freshman year, and he was in a class with me. He was a senior, I was a freshman. We hit it off instantly. We became friends immediately. We used to talk on AOL Instant Messenger. That's how long ago this was. I feel so old, but I remember I used to get on AIM and I'd be like, is he online? You could see like their status. I just fell in love with him very quickly. And I loved my ex-husband. I loved my ex-husband. He was my best friend. He was the person I shared everything with. We grew together. We had shared interests, shared goals. We wanted a family together. I will never look back and be angry about it. I will never look back and be like, "Oh my God, I should have gone back in time and never married that loser." Like that's not this story. This was a love story. And it still is a love story. There are 3 beautiful children that were made from this relationship, and that's love. No matter what happens in the future or what has happened, there was love there, and I will always hold on to that as a positive memory. Just because things ended poorly does not mean that what was there wasn't real. But we had history. We were high school sweethearts. We were college sweethearts. We got married in college. I was 20 years old. I really didn't, I mean, obviously, I didn't date anyone else because I was with him. So we knew this is what we wanted, and we made sacrifices for one another, for each other's careers, for each other's ambitions, for our educations, and we just did that because we loved each other. We were a team, and it was great when it was great. If you've been in a long-term relationship, you know that it takes work. It takes work to communicate. It takes work to be on the same page about things. I think a lot of people get bored, quite frankly, and they want to spice things up. They want to do things differently. You know, I've met people who have tried swinging and other things to like bring in, like, let's spice up our marriage. It's not going to fix it. Like, y'all need Jesus. I just said y'all. God help me. Anyway, I think people try different things to help their marriage instead of realizing as a unit, you should both come together and pray about it and be with God and let God guide your marriage. And we didn't do that. I've mentioned this before, but I was way more spiritual than he was, and I'm not going to knock him for, not being the same type of spirituality as me and not expressing things the way that I did. It doesn't mean he wasn't a Christian, but I think I was probably more open to letting God lead our family than he was. And I'm not saying that's a fault on him. It was a fault on the 2 of us for not coming together as a good Christian family. We were together for 10 years and married for 5 when we had our first child. And it was spectacular. It was terrifying, traumatizing. I had a very painful birth. My epidural wore off. It was 32, 36 hours of labor, something like that. It was awful. And my son was almost 9 pounds. He was a big boy. I was just wrecked. And, when you're a new mom, like, you don't know what you're doing. It's tough. You have no money. Like, you're just trying to figure stuff out at 25 years old. Like, what do I do here? But my ex-husband and I really tried. And around the time that we had my son, he had graduated from the Reserves Academy with the police department or the sheriff's department. And he had been asked if he would go full time. And I didn't really know what that meant, but I knew that it made him happy. And when you are someone's spouse, you do things that make them happy. And you look at, okay, what will we need to sacrifice for this? And we had a conversation where I said, if this is really your passion and if this is really what you want to do, I'm on board. But I hope that you always put the family first. And there came a time where that didn't happen anymore. It was always the job. And we had a lot of fights about it. And I don't care about money. I don't care what you make or what you do for a living as long as there has to be a balance. If you hate your job and you make a lot of money and the money is satisfying to you, whatever. Like, you're getting what you wanted. You wanted the money. If you have a passion and it's your purpose and like you're driven to do this in your career and you don't make a lot of money, but you're happy because it's your purpose, that's fine. But when there isn't anything good happening, when you're not making a lot of money and you're tired and you're overworked and you're stressed and it's coming home and it's changing your mood completely, changing the family dynamic, that's where I step in and say, you gotta, you gotta make a change. Like, I was fighting for so long to say, pick me, pick us, do something, say something, be something, change something. And it just didn't happen. It was just a pattern of insanity. Let's do the same thing every single day and expect something different to happen. And obviously, nothing different is going to happen. So there I was just begging, begging, begging for a change. Please make a change. Please make a change. This is killing me. This is killing me. You're ripping my heart and my soul from my body because your job is killing me. And it didn't matter. I didn't matter. And there is playing devil's advocate saying, well, if you were a good wife, then you would, just be supportive in this and that. That is true. But there is a point where you have given more than you're getting back on a regular basis. So hear me out here. When you are a woman, you've birthed the kids. We eventually have had 3 kids. I had my son, and then we had twin girls that I birthed without complaint. I've done all this. I'm a mother and I'm a career woman, and I was the breadwinner, and I was doing all the things around the house when his job was super late and he had to work late and he got called out and this and that and his job 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 and his job. Well, why don't you just stay happy and why don't you support him? It's what he loves. The major turning point in our relationship is when in 2021 I had my brain injury. I was super sick. I was in the stroke unit. I lost my cognitive abilities. I lost a chunk of my memory. I wasn't able to walk for 6 months. I was in a very bad place. I don't want to say that he stepped up. My ex had a really hard time letting other people help. I had friends reach out to say, like, what can we do to help? And he just didn't want them to help. He wanted, "Well, we've got it. It's fine." It wasn't fine. I was not doing well. And I think in all of it, he just took on so much that it just absolutely wore him out. And then I think the career when you're in law enforcement, the shit that you see, I don't know how they live with themselves. Like, I don't know how, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. Like, it's awful. And I'm so sorry that so many of you have been through that. And I hope that you seek help. But there is also this brotherhood and this, like, I am man, I need no help ever. Like, no one will ever help me because I'm strong like bull. Go see a fucking therapist, save your marriage, do something, get help. Because admitting that you need help doesn't mean you're a bitch. It doesn't mean that I'm not tough like the rest of them. Really? Get help. Go to a fucking therapist. You have chaplains on hand. You have people available. And the military is the same way. I have military members in my family who just, oh, I'm tough. I got it. Okay. Let's see where that gets you. When you're on your 7th divorce and you're making out with a 22-year-old at the bar, let's see how not going to counseling helped you in your career. But what do I know? So I was sick. I was really sick. And finally, when I got better, so years before that, I had severe endometriosis, awful endometriosis. I was so sick for so long. Then I got better. Then I had this stupid vaccine injury. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, at what point in my life am I going to get better? And not for nothing. But during all of this, I still built a successful career and took care of my family financially. I did that. I made money, and I was good at making money, and I was smart, and I was strategic, and I did my fucking best to make sure my family had everything they needed, almost while dying, but I still fucking did it. Had to put that in there. Not that we're upset about that or anything. So when I finally recover from my brain injury, I'm at a job that I loved. I loved this job for almost 5 years, and I had run out of career growth. I had come back from after nearly dying, and I realized, like, you get one life, and I wanted to live it better than I was. And I decided to look for a new job. Even though my brain wasn't 100% fixed, I'm like, I'm going to find something new so that I can grow in my career because I'm crazy. So I start to hear about this girl at his work. She works not at the sheriff's department, but in something that works with the sheriff's department. And I hear a lot about her. And I hear about, like, inside jokes and how she's part of this group and they're all really good friends. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And we have a New Year's party and she comes with her then husband. And I'm like, oh, you're so-and-so. Like, you seem really nice. And we become friends. Not long after that, I am fast asleep in the middle of the night and I get woken up by my ex-husband and he says, so and so had an incident at her house and may need to come stay with us for a little bit. Is that okay? Me still recovering from a brain injury, not being 100% all there, and being woken up in the middle of the night, knowing that a woman is supposedly in harm. I'm like, of course, that's totally fine. Like, what? Yes, like, help her. Not only does she come to my house, she brings her 4 cats. Not only does she bring her 4 cats, she brings her dog. Not only does she bring her dog, she then goes and adopts another dog while living in my house. So I then have a younger blonde woman that my ex-husband works with and 4 cats and 2 dogs who are not mine at my house all the time while I am working and trying to find a new, better job for my family while recovering from a brain injury. All the while, this woman is living in my guest room. All the while, this woman is downstairs in my kitchen making pasta with my then husband, laughing and giggling, talking about all their inside jokes at work. They talk about memes and they send each other text messages. And I'm just like, wow, we're all such good friends. Eventually, things got sorted with the person that she was married to. I'm not going to get into her business because it's her business and I frankly don't give a fuck. But things got sorted and it was time for her to move back to wherever she came from. And I got a lot of flack for that. It was, oh, well, she's thriving here and can't she just stay here? No, she can't. It's been months living here. Mind you, not paying any rent, not cleaning anything except the one room that she lived in, not helping in any real way, just living here rent-free, flirting with my then husband. So I let her know it's time to go. It's been nice, but you gots to go, lady. And she wasn't thrilled about it, and he wasn't thrilled about it. And all the while I'm like, what the fuck do I know? So eventually, she does move out and is on her own. And then at that point, there were many calls, many text messages. Oh, can you help me install this? Can you help with this? I won't be home at this time. Can you wait for the installation people to come? And I'm like, well, no, you can't, because I'm pretty sure you're my husband. If I recall correctly, I mean, I may have a brain injury at this time, but I do believe I walked up an aisle to see you, and we said vows in front of all of our friends and family at some point in 2008, and I'm pretty sure that made me your wife at that point. So no, I am not okay with you going to this single woman's house and helping her install anything. She can hire a fucking handyman. But of course, that caused a fight because how dare I? Why would I say that? What a bitch I am. Like, where you have an opportunity to help someone. I did help someone. She lived here rent-free for months with their 4 cats and her 2 fucking dogs, and I've helped enough, damn it. There will be jewels on my crown in heaven for the amount I have helped this woman. But that wasn't good enough. It was just another fight. I know it's not fair. I know it's not fair. And eventually, we got to a point where I said, she's not allowed to message you anymore. Like, I'm putting my foot down. I should have put my foot down months ago when I was even asked, hey, can she move in here? No, dumbass, she can't move in here. Are you fucking stupid? No, she cannot move in here. Did I say that? No, I didn't. But the thing that just makes me giggle with this, I have dated since my divorce. I have met different men since my divorce, and every single man I have met has said the same thing. What kind of a man would move in a single woman to his home with his wife and his children? What kind of a man would put you through that? What kind of a man would even ask you that option? A real husband, a real man would say, nah, sorry, lady, you're on your own. I talked to my family member about this, and he said, he's a great God-fearing man. He's a wonderful Christian. He's a wonderful father. He's a wonderful husband. And he said, if there was someone at church who was going through like the hardest time in her life and was like, we need a place to stay, it would be, here's money for a hotel. Here's a shelter you can stay at. Here's a resource available. You're not staying here. And that's pretty profound. But we could play the blame game all day. It's all, why didn't he just put his foot down? And why did you say yes? I was fucking stupid. So I opened that door and I let it into my house, and then chaos ensued. And, I could sit all day and be like, oh, well, they did this. And if I hadn't done this and blah, 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 people are going to do what they want to do. Whether I open this door or not, they're going to do what they want to do. And they did. So I say, I'm not comfortable with her calling you anymore. It's too much. Too many texts, too many messages. She's too involved with you and her family, and it was a fight. Once again, it was a fight. It wasn't, as my wife, I could see how that would feel. like, I'm disrespecting you, so I understand. It was, well, she's this, and I can't believe looking back on it now, I'm like, what the fuck was I like? How did I not see this? How was I so fucking stupid? But I, again, loved my husband. So we agreed that she would no longer message him on his personal phone. And if she needed him for a work thing, they had work cell phone numbers. They could have messaged each other there. She didn't care. She still messaged him, and I still saw text messages, and it just caused fights. So we eventually went to couples therapy. And in couples therapy, I brought up how I felt inadequate, how this person, I'm a tall, olive skinned brunette. This person is shorter, younger, blonde, and has enhancements that make it look like gravity has not taken its course. We'll just say that. So I did not feel great about myself. Looking back on it now, I'm like, ooh, like I was concerned about that. I mean, I had every right to be, and I probably should have been based on what happened, but I was comparing myself all the time because the person that I was with wasn't paying attention to me. The person I was with was paying a lot of attention to this person. And even if, let's say, I had more attention than her, there shouldn't have been any attention off of me in the first place. So I was driving myself crazy, comparing myself to this woman. It was years of this. We went to counseling. We talked about this. It was, why did this happen? Why are you spending time with her? They still went to lunch together, working together. They still spent time together. They still went to conferences. At one conference, I said, did you see her at all? No, I haven't even talked to her. Really? I have a Facebook post from your agency with a picture of you two sitting next to each other at this conference. So that's interesting. And it was just constant. Oh, you're crazy. You're paranoid. I think you're acting crazy. You're paranoid. Women, your intuition is rarely wrong. Trust your gut every single time. And I, for years, thought I was crazy. I thought there was something wrong with me. And there was finally a moment where I went through one of the worst experiences, one of the worst days of my life, and was also the most validated at the same time. Before I get into that day, I will say one more odd story that, in hindsight, you look back at these things and you're like, what the fuck was I doing? Was I so stupid? We were going on a family vacation and we were planning on where to go. And we had an opportunity to go to a family member's beach house. And we're like, yes, we're going to go. It's going to be great. And apparently, months ago, he had agreed that we could take the family to her family's beach house. And when all was said and done, when she had moved out, and I was like, you guys are way too chummy. This is not gonna fly anymore. He came to me and said, I feel really bad that we're letting her family down. And I wanted to see if we could bring our family to her family's beach house on vacation and not see his family, but go to her family's beach house. And I'm like, what the is wrong with you? What? I'm sorry, I'm hitting my mic. I'm so frustrated. What is wrong with you? What kind of a human being, what kind of a man would have the fucking balls to look at his wife, who nearly fucking died from a fucking brain injury, put up with a blonde woman in her fucking guest room for months, had to deal with the comparisons and the craziness and the flirtations and the secret text messages and all this bullshit for months, to then have the fucking balls to stand in front of me and say, can we go on vacation with her family to her family's beach house? Because I really don't want to upset them. The fact that I have not lost my fucking mind at this point, kudos to me. I kept it together. Was I the nicest person in the world? No. Did I hurt anyone? Also no. Which is, again, more jewels on my crown in heaven. Because the fucking audacity of a grown-ass man to come to his wife and be like, oh, are you sure we can't go on vacation with her and her family? Yes, I'm fucking sure. You want to go on vacation with her and her family? Go marry her. And guess what? He did. So anyway, we're in couples therapy, dealing with things. Her name was brought up more than anything ever. And I'm like, just something doesn't feel right. I'm not crazy. And he just, no, I'm not attracted to her. I've never been attracted to her. She's, ew, that's not my type. She's just a friend. And I'm like, okay. I wish I could get a transcript of these therapy sessions. Like, oh my God, he loves me. And again, This man loved me. I know he loved me. I know he will always love me as much as I piss him off, as much as I go out here and say, you know what? I'm going to tell my side of the story for the first time ever, as much as it's going to get under his skin. He still loves me. I'm not stupid. We had something incredible for a long time. And whatever has happened in his life to transpire to where he's at now, the best way I can describe this is women, God will never send you someone else's husband. Ever. I would never be friends with a man who's married. I would never lean on a man who is married. I would never look at a man and be like, oh, there's your wife and children. Will you help me? I need help. We're just friends. Let's have inside jokes. No, that's trashy behavior, and I will not allow that in my life. I would never do that to another woman. And if you are the type of woman who would do that to someone else, I hope you take a good fucking hard look at yourself and figure out what the fuck is missing within yourself, within your soul, within your relationship with God, that you would do that to another woman. Even a flirtation with someone else's husband is trashy, and it's not going to be tolerated in my life and hopefully anyone around me. I was friends with people who were cheating on their spouses on a regular basis and wanted me to just not say anything. Well, don't say anything. You know, it's my business. And he did this first. And I don't give a fuck. You don't cheat on your fucking spouse. You don't cheat on your partner. If you want to act trashy, go out there and act trashy, but don't come home to your spouse and be like, oh, honey, I missed you. No, you didn't. You want attention in every way that you can have it. You cannot have your cake and eat it too. You can't be married and be like, oh, well, I'm missing something. I need to go out there and get it from someone else. Any man who ever asks me, oh, did he leave you because you weren't giving him what he wanted sexually? This is what I say to that. One, the fucking audacity to ask a woman that. And there's men, they have like their gaggles of dumbasses together, and they're like, oh, yeah, like a girl isn't putting out, she's not giving it to us, we deserve it. You know, she's had a hard day. She gave birth to a kid, and 1 week later, she's not getting my dick wet. Like, really? She just gave birth to a fucking kid. They're so selfish. Not all men are like this, but a lot of men are fucking selfish. Like, oh, her mom died, and like, she doesn't want to have sex with me. Like, no. I wouldn't want to have sex with you on our normal day, let alone those days. Like, ew. Anyway, there's men out there who believe that, like, it's okay to leave your wife if she's not putting out. That's not okay either. Like, you don't just leave someone because they're not doing that. If you go to therapy and you're working it out and you're still not getting there, that's understandable to like get to a point where you mutually decide, like, this isn't working. But you don't just leave someone because you're not getting what you need from them. It is a partnership. If your team is failing, you don't just look at the other team members like, you guys fucking suck. I'm going to this one because they're going to give me more money. No, you look at them, you coach them, you work together as a team, and you get better. That's what marriage is. And if you can't fucking do that, don't get married. Be the loser on a dating app at 65 years old. Who's like, I like my 22-year-old girls. 22-year-old girls are going to go for you because they think that you hung the moon, even though you're fucking stupid and they have nothing else to compare it to. Anyway, I have had men look me in the eyes at a bar. Not men. I had one man. He's actually former law enforcement, which is fun. He looked me in the eyes and he said, so I take it you weren't putting out, and that's why he left. The amount of willpower it took to not break my Blue Moon bottle and stab him with it was impressive. But I did not stab him. Instead, I politely said, you have no fucking idea what you're talking about. I hope you have a good night. And I moved on with my night. That was it. But to ask a woman that, how disgusting of a human being are you to ask that to someone you don't even know? And sure, if drinks were involved, whatever, you'd never ask someone that. That's just tacky. But if I could say it to this person now, or anyone who would ask a disgusting question like that, I don't talk about my sex life on this podcast or really publicly anywhere, but I will say this. I do everything with excellence. If I am not number one, I am striving to be at all fucking times. So trust me when I say I was not lacking in that department. If anything, I had to constantly ask, are you thinking about her? Because something seems off. I had to beg for affection toward the end, which was never the case. We had a very healthy life in that regard for a very long time. And for me to have to instigate all the time and say, oh, can we, it starts to wear you out. You don't want to be the one asking for that at all times. And since my divorce, the men that I've met are like, why would any guy be like, no to that? Like, I don't know, but not my problem. And trust me when I say that since being divorced, I have realized that there are a lot of really fun things out there I didn't understand. That is as explicit as we will get on this podcast. Just saying it right there. Anyway, I do also have to say the amount of muscle out there, like, it is very fun to meet a man with, like, a six-pack because you're like, "Hello." It's so fun when you're used to just, like, squishy. Ah. It's like climbing a snow hill that the snow is just falling down. You're like, "I can't get to the top," versus, like, like, putting your claws into some hard snow to get to the top. Mm. Woo! Is it hot in here or is it just me? So the final end of our marriage was one day I saw that she called his cell phone and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like, how many times do you have to tell someone, "Hey, please don't contact my husband?" Like, it's just tacky. At that point, they had been going to lunch together more at work and still talking all the time. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm like, I can't keep competing with this. It's ridiculous. Even when forgot to say this story. Even when she lived here, she had like a crotch rocket. I hate saying crotch rocket, but that might just be my nickname for her, crotch rocket. She had a crotch rocket and I had a Corvette. I had a Corvette, not we. I bought the Corvette. Anyway, one day he said, she had a hard day at work. We're going to go out on this road, a road near us. I'm not going to name where I live, but it's a famous road. They're going to go on this road together. She's going to ride on her crotch rocket and he's going to drive the vet and they're just going to go out and blow off some steam. And I'm like, oh, don't worry. Let me ask my parents. They can take the kids and I'll go with you. No, it's just a friend thing. Okay. I talked to one of my friends about this and I said, it's crazy that even if I told this story in the nicest way possible, there would still be someone 99% of people would be like, what the fuck?" I'm telling it my authentic voice, and you can understand my frustration, you can understand my anger, you can understand my humor and all of it because I tell it passionately because it happened to me. But if I told this and you could say like, "Oh, that's influencing how people think about the other people." Okay, let's say it in this way. This amazing guy and this amazing girl were married for a while, and this poor girl that he works with had a really hard time, and she needed a place to stay, so they let her live there. Like, if you say it in a really nice way, you're still thinking like, "What the fuck?" The fact that I was put through this and, like, again, I am my own person. I could have said no, but I didn't, so I take blame there, but, again, the fact that this man was like, "Can we move her into her house?" What the fuck is wrong with you? Anyway, the end for us was when she had called again. I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" So we got into a huge fight and we just it did not get better from that point. Shortly after that, I was downstairs in my house and I felt my floors felt different. And I found out once I looked under the sink that there was standing water. Called my insurance. They came. They realized the dishwasher had been installed improperly. I didn't install it. Only one other person would have in my house. So it was installed improperly. And because of it, there was a slow drip. And my whole downstairs, my house had to be demoed. And it sucked. And they started to come in, they started to demo the house, and that week I had surgery on my foot that I broke. My dad took me to it because, my ex had to work. He's just so busy. Um, so got my foot surgery. Then I had my birthday like 2 days later. And then 2 days after that, my ex-husband told me he no longer wanted to be married to me because he wanted to be alone. He didn't want to be married to anyone. He wanted to be a lone wolf. He wanted space. He wanted time. He just wanted to be alone. And then 2 days later, I was laid off from my job. And I called him and I said, "Can you just stay here tonight? Like, I'm really having a hard time." And he said his mental health couldn't handle that. So I did it on my own and I got through the pain on my own and it was fucking terrible. And around that time, my former stepmom that I talked about in a podcast had gotten very sick and was terminally ill. And he wasn't there for any of that. She died 3 weeks before we officially divorced. And right before she died, I had told him that she's probably not going to make it. And his response was he hopes that I know that if there is any type of inheritance from her, that he's not expecting anything. So that is the type of shit that I was going through at the time. Um, but I was so stupid. I'm like, "Oh, he just needs a space. Like, his job is so hard and everything's just so hard in his life and he's gonna heal and, maybe things will get better for him." And I was so sad. There's not anything in me that still wants this person, especially when I get into the rest of this. But such a beautiful love to exist and end in such a shitty way. It's just so sad. I was so sad. I was grieving just the future and, we could have had everything. We were so close. We worked so hard to get where we are and you're just going to throw it away? You're just going to leave? You're just going to give up? And you could say all day like you had problems. Of course we had problems. Of course everyone has problems, but we could have worked through them. And it was just, nah, I'm good. I've had enough. Okay. So what happens the next time you're married when things get to be too much? Because they will. If you quit the woman that you were with for 21 years and had 3 kids with and had everything you could have ever wanted. I paid for everything. I gave an amazing house. I worked my ass off so he could have his dream career. If you're going to leave that, what's going to be good enough for you? But it's not mine to worry about. I had to focus on myself and I had to focus on my kids. Now, getting a divorce from someone with 3 kids, you try to co-parent really well. And we were doing a good job until the day that the dog died. So we had a 15-year-old dog who was not doing well. And I decided to take him into the vet. We had made the decision that it's probably his time to go. So I told my ex-husband about it. We let our son come and put the dog down with us. And it was just a peaceful family moment saying goodbye to our dog. That night, my son was having a really hard time with it. And he asked if he could go to his dad's house because he wanted to just have some daddy-son time. And I said, sure, like, of course he's going to let you. And I called my ex and I said, he's having a hard time. Can he come stay with you? And he said, no, he had plans. I'm like, you never have plans. You have no friends. Who are you going out with? And it dawned on me. I was like, oh, you're going on a date. Okay. So I'm just like, all right, he's going on a date. Like I had kind of told him, like, if I'm into someone, like it was kind of cutesy, like we're still friends. And he was really quiet about it. And I thought that was odd. And I said, who are you going on a date with? And he wouldn't say. And I'm like, is it blah, blah, blah? And he said, yes. And mind you, this was 2 months after the divorce. After 21 years with the woman you say you vow in front of your friends, family, and God that you are going to protect and be with till death do you part. 2 months after your divorce papers are finalized, after you decide to leave her, you're then with the woman that you let live in the house with your ex-wife. I could give commentary on this all day, but I'll let you think of this how you want to think of this. Actually, you know what? After watching the 50 Cent special, the 50 Cent special, that sounds like a Saturday night thing. The 50 Cent documentary on P. Diddy on Netflix, I'm going to give commentary. That's fucked up. That is so fucked up in every fucked up way that something could be fucked up. That's fucked up. And when I mentioned how fucked up this was, it was, why is that fucked up? Am I not allowed to be happy? The amount of gaslighting and narcissism that come through when someone is angry with you and you're not believing in their bullshit anymore is astounding. So back to this first thing that I said about the TikTok account when I had a pseudo influencer account. My ex stood in my driveway and said, because I was making these funny TikToks. Most of them were funny. One of them was actually calling out this woman. I'm like, to the woman who lived in my house and decided to start dating my ex-husband. And I'm like, blah, blah, blah. It was funny, but sure, I could kind of see how that was like overstepping a boundary. I took that one down, but the rest I kept up because they were funny, like dealing with divorce types of TikToks, whatever. It was my story to tell. And for years, because he was in law enforcement, I couldn't say anything. I couldn't be myself. I couldn't even have my fucking name on Facebook because, oh, if someone sees that, they can see your name. They could see any posts of yours. They could figure out where they live and they could come and kill your family. And I'm like, no, I can't ever post on Facebook because of my children. Are you fucking kidding me? I think most law enforcement officers tell their spouses that because they don't want the girls that they're fucking to come to them and be like, oh, by the way, I'm screwing your husband. I digress. So when he decided to start dating this woman, we had a really good co-parenting experience in the very short time we were co-parenting without her involved. I met him in the driveway one day and I was like, listen, what we've had, if this is going to be your reality, this is no longer going to be our reality. I have been kind. I've been considerate. He'd come in and wait for the kids. He'd sit like on the couch and I'd bring him a cherry Coke because that was my thing with him. And I was like, that life is over. If you choose this path and you choose to be that disrespectful to me, this is over. And he's like, well, I guess it's over then. I'm like, okay, bet. So one day with the TikTok account, he came to my house to get the kids and he stood in my driveway and he told me, just so you know, there are people at work who have shown me your TikToks and they're very concerned. One was a lawyer and he said that if you continue to do this, I could file harassment charges. And my response was, wow, that lawyer needs to have more to do than look at my TikToks all day. But I was intimidated because of his position, and I took down a lot of what I put out there. And if you had come to me and said, hey, I saw this, I didn't think it was very respectful, could you take it down? Whatever. I'd listen. I don't know if I would have taken it down, but I would have listened. But I was so afraid of what to put out there because I thought, oh God, what if I get harassment charges and this and that? And then I went back through and I realized this isn't a harassment charge. This is if I put this story out there, it's going to make someone look bad. And I'm not painting a narrative of something that didn't happen. I'm painting exactly how it happened. This isn't some like Picasso impressionist, like, oh, maybe this is how it went. These are the facts. This is what happened. I don't know what went on behind closed doors. I don't know what went on in text messages. I can't say that. And if I did, if I speculated, that could be construed as not very good. That someone could be like, "Oh, she's painting a bad narrative of me and she's degrading my name and blah blah blah." I'm telling what happened to me, and this is what happened to me, and it fucking sucked. So shortly after they started dating, she somehow wound up in the same apartment complex as him. Like, what? Crazy. It's cute. And then I had one Saturday, I was coming to get the kids. They were being dropped off at a birthday party at the skating rink. And I go in. I had just been tubing with my friends. So I looked like shit. And there she was. That's the first I had seen her since all of this went down. And she came up to me and she's like, here's the girl's shoes. I just thought you'd want them. And I looked at her and went, mm-mm, mm. And I looked at him and went, mm-mm, mm-mm. He knew right then and there, this will never be okay. No amount of time is ever going to make this okay. I will never ever be okay with this. You can have the life you want to have. You can date who you want. You can marry who you want. You can have more kids with whomever you choose in this entire world. Does not mean that I have to like her. Does not mean I have to talk to her. I have never had a conversation with this woman since since she left my house. And that's okay. I'm all right with that. So fast forward right after our 1 year, it had been 1 year since we got a divorce. They were getting married. This is real fun. I can't even imagine telling my deep, dark secrets to a man a year later, let alone getting fucking married to a crusty man a year after my divorce from someone that I had been with for 21 years. But it was hard on me. And it wasn't hard because oh, she got the prize. Honey, that is not a prize. If someone leaves his wife that he's known for 21 years, has been married to for almost 16 years and had 3 kids with, if someone leaves his wife and immediately jumps into a relationship with you, that is not a prize that I want. That is a nasty prize at the bottom of an old cereal box that has been down there since the 1960s. I don't want that. If you want that prize, fucking go for it. But there is no jealousy or, oh, she took my life. No, that's not a life that I want to have. It is a grief feeling. It is a grieving bottom of your gut punch. You feel like your whole body is being ripped out from the inside feeling of betrayal and sadness and thinking that you're crazy because you loved this person so much and you respected this person so much that you have to take the time to grieve the loss of this person in your life. And that's what I did. 2 years later, I've grieved my divorce. I've grieved the loss of my marriage and what I thought that we had and all that could have been. I grieved and I grieved and I grieved. And I got help and I went to counseling. I went to different therapists. I went to different therapy groups. I got my life better with God. I went to church. I joined a divorce group. I lost a bunch of weight because I started to focus on me and take care of myself. I went through the motions and I grieved someone that I loved so deeply properly. Meanwhile, I gave my all to someone for 21 years. I would have died for this person, and he didn't grieve me at all. The body was still warm when he was moving into another one. I meant to say moving on to another one, but so you feel just a sense of worthlessness. What was all of this for? Why did I go through this just to have someone leave me? What a horrible feeling. But I know in my heart of hearts that I was loved for a good amount of time, and I loved someone else. And I know in my heart of hearts that I was loved, and I know that I loved him and that I respected him. And the thing that got me to get over my ex-husband is the loss of respect. When When I started to see things for how they were and how everything panned out, I had no respect left. It was just gone. And anything I had been told about how, oh, ew, I wouldn't ever date someone like that. And then, like, okay. It's just being bold faced lied to for years. And you think, okay, that's not someone I ever want anything to do with. Is he a great parent? I'm not going to speak to that. I can let my kids speak to that. Is he a good person? I also don't know him. I don't know anything about him. Whoever I thought that he was, I knew nothing. I know what I knew when it was good and when it was honest and real. And when it started to take a turn into something dark that was just begging for love, begging to be involved in. I don't know. So, ladies, my advice to you is one, don't ever go for a guy who's going through a divorce, who's freshly divorced, who's obviously still married. Like, don't do it. If a guy is going to get with you immediately after a relationship like that, he'd do the same to you. He's not going to agree. Just like skirting by. You know how if you're traveling a lot, you don't get jet lagged if you keep going. You just keep going. Like you're not going to process the time zone change because you're just, oh, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. And you're like, let's chug some Red Bull. And like you're putting Band-Aids over bullet holes just to keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And then one day when you settle and the reality hits that you're 15 time zones ahead, you're like, oh shit. And in the same sense, if you date someone who has not healed, he hasn't changed. He's bringing all that to you. And he's not dealing with it. He's not telling you. I can guarantee they're not sitting around like, you know what? Let's talk about Sarah. They don't give a shit. But they haven't healed. They just moved right on to you. They just went, oh, I went from this crazy long half of my life to just, let's have this marriage right here. And then, well, I'm going to be here and I'm going to do this and I'm going to have a kid with you. And it's going to be amazing, even though I had a kid with someone and we had 3 together and then I left her and decided to be with you and I'm going to have a kid with you anyway. And I'll never do this to you, even though I did it to her. Did you like my auction voice there? That was pretty impressive. But no, if a man will do that to a woman, he's going to do that to you too. He would do that to you too. If someone is capable of hurting someone in that way, they're capable of doing it to you too. When a man's like, oh, you're the only one for me, and oh, I can't wait to raise a child with you, and oh, I vow in front of our friends and family to love you forever. That's cute. He did the same for me. You're not special. Through all of this crazy bullshit that I've been through in my life, the one thing that I am so grateful for is that I got closer to God. Because when you're at the lowest of your low, you have to rely on Him. And I relied on God. I still rely on God every day, every second that I'm awake. God is my savior. God has pulled me through the worst of the worst. And there's still going to be bad days ahead, but I went through the worst of the worst and God was there. I also focus on my kids. My kids get to be with me half the time and I love them. I made them in love with this person and they're my kids and I'll do anything to support them. And, he and I still have to talk to each other and co-parent and we do the best that we can. It kills me. It kills me that this woman has any time with my children, to have lived in my house, to have stepped over the threshold of my territory and be in my house and do this. Like, take the man, I don't care. But now that this person gets time with my children, I'm a mama bear and that pisses me off. But there's nothing I can do about it other than pray that my kids are always okay and pray that my daughters will marry a man who would never leave them for someone else. If you are a man and you say, wow, I really hope my daughter marries someone just like me someday, then you are a good man. But if you can't say that with a good conscience, you might have some work to do. And if you are able to get over someone that quickly, my God, I can't even imagine that. But am I over him now? Yes. Oh, yes. I've had men that I've considered dating say, are you sure you two would never get back together? I think, yes, I'm positive. And that's I'm not knocking him. I'm not saying like, oh, he's gross. I just, ugh. Everything that I have been through, everything that I've been put through, I would never, ever consider that. That ship has sailed. People will say like, oh, would you ever, keep that door open for it? There is no door. That house has been blown to smithereens and no door even exists. That would never be a possibility. Whoever wants him in the future, take him. Like, I would pay you at that point. Like, just take him. If we were the last human beings on Earth, Well, I've had a hysterectomy, so it wouldn't matter. I'd be like, good luck, son. Peace. I don't care. If we're the last human beings on earth, I would probably jump off of a bridge and just be like, whatever happens, happens. Not trying to be mean, just stating how I feel. The fact that this date came around, I didn't even realize it, pretty comforting. If you are married and you're going through a hard time, remember at one point that person loved you. That person stood in front of your friends and family and God and said, I want to be with you. So give them a little bit of credit and try to work through it. Unless your person is like physically abusing you, like that is a no-go. But if you have stuff to work through it. Because if you just quit and move on to something else, those things are still going to happen. Life is still going to happen. Stress is still going to happen. Pain is still going to happen. Not being attracted to someone in the same way that you were when you were 20 years younger is still going to happen. But stay with it. Stick with it. Stay the course. And if you don't want to do that, don't get married. Marriage is for life. It's a lifelong commitment. You don't just get married and then be like, oh, you know what? I'll do this with someone else because the other one didn't really work out. Like, you can get married again. It does happen. I would love to get married again someday. Not now. Someday. I see that happening for me, but we'll see. But I stayed quiet for a long time because I was afraid of what could happen. And like, well, if I say this, it could look bad on them. And some people just like to be quiet, and that's totally fine. But I have found my voice, and I will never again in my fucking life allow anyone to tell me what I can and cannot say. Obviously, within reason. There are legal things that you cannot put up. You can't just threaten people online and get away with it. But for years, I had to dim myself and be quiet and don't say this. And if you do that, that could look bad on him and his career because he's the only thing in this world that matters. And his career is the only thing that matters. What you do doesn't matter. Give birth to the kids, make 3 times what he makes, doesn't matter. But his job is the most important thing in the world. And we have to focus on that, Sarah. What are you doing? Why aren't you focusing on him? It's him. It's him. We have to let him shine. You can't say that online. That could look poorly upon him. Shut the fuck up. Enough. I'm done. I finally broke out of the stupid fucking cage that I had been in for years. And it feels amazing. And you may say like, oh, she's finally snapped. Yeah, probably. Don't really care. But the experience has also taught me that I will never be that person again. I found who I was, and I found that I was way stronger than I ever thought I could be. And I had been all along. I was suppressing it. And I wasn't abused. I wasn't like, emotionally traumatized for years. And I lived in like a tiny room in the basement and was never allowed to come out of my cave. Like it wasn't like that. But there are little things that just add up and add up throughout the years. And when you're out of it, you're like, oh my God, this was crazy. I loved someone so much that I lost myself in the process. And now I'm at the point where I love myself more. And I always will. I will always come first from now on. You don't like how I do my hair? Don't care. You don't like how I cuss a lot? Also don't give a fuck. You don't like my weight? Go find someone skinnier. And that's not this like bulldogish way of I am woman, hear me roar, I'm amazing. Like I know what I have. I do what I don't have. But I'm confident in myself for the first time in a very long time. And I have learned that by loving myself, accepting myself, and being okay with myself, it's going to do wonders for me and for my kids. And I can be an amazing role model to others. And that is what's important in this life. Do I lie awake at night wondering what they're doing or if they're talking? No, I really don't care. Like my life, I sleep alone. I sleep great. Like I get a full night's sleep and it's fucking beautiful. Like I don't care. But the trauma that I've been through seeps into things in my life. If I want to date somebody, it can be intimidating. I do think that your past can affect your future in a good way. For instance, if a grown man stood in my driveway today and told me what I can and cannot say on the internet, I would tell him to get the fuck off of my property that I paid for because I made enough money to buy this property by myself. Was that petty? We should ask 50 Cent. I wish I had him on like speed dial. Hey, Fitty. I think I went like 75 cent level on this. I need your advice. But I am grateful for the future that I have. And the days are easier. I will say that. When you first get a divorce, there are months where you're just fucking miserable and you're like, what am I doing? I'm like learning this all on my own. I don't know. Like, this is awful. And then there's other days where you're like, hey, I'm a badass bitch. But it does get easier with time. Time makes it so much better. And the fact that the 2-year anniversary passed and I didn't even know it, I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, that's not a date that's important to me anymore. And that feels really good. I will say, in my experience, some people who have moved on quickly, I'm not saying in this situation, but historically speaking, from what I know about people, they do move on faster when they were already with someone before they left the person that they're with. So, what do I know? But if you're going through a divorce, heal, heal, heal. Did I say it enough? Heal. Take the time to heal. Process what you went through. Process the love that you had. Process the downfall. Process the emotional baggage that you're carrying. Process it all. Process it. Heal. Go to therapy. Talk about your feelings. Do not move into something very quickly with somebody else because you're taking all of that bullshit and dropping it onto them. And then when that inevitably doesn't work out, you're going to take it's like if you buy a car and you're upside down in your loan and you're like, you know what? I want a newer, shinier car and I know I'm going to go into debt for it anyway. So then you roll all that negative equity into like your new Camaro and you have your Camaro and you're like, this is fun. I'm going to drive it for a while. Let me sit in this and like defile the seats for a bit. Then you're like, I don't like this anymore. I want a new one. This is starting to give me trouble. What do I do? Let's roll all of the negative equity from the Camaro into this other sports car. That's what you're doing when you jump from one relationship to another. Prove me wrong. Go ahead. You're not going to be able to, because that is what happens. If you can do that, you are a sociopath. Get help. It's crazy. The guy that I was starting to date who went to jail, he was like, I wish people would stop telling me that it's too soon for me to start dating. I deserve to be loved in the way that I want to be loved. And it's just like, it's so cringy to even think about that. But he wanted to be in a relationship immediately. Like, I need to be in a relationship now. I need someone to love me. Like, love yourself. Let Jesus love you. There's many options out there. If you're just like externally, like, I need to be with someone, I don't know how to be alone, there's a reason for that. Fix yourself. Get some help. Get some Jesus in your life because it's not going to get any better. And don't let society tell you, oh, it's been this amount of time, you need to move on. Fuck them. Like, they don't know what you went through. They don't know how you feel. If you're sitting around like, oh, it's me, I'm the victim, my life is awful. If I sat here today and was like, "Hey, it's been 2 years, and in these 2 years, all of these bad things happen to me." And no, my life's been fucking fabulous. I have gone through shit and back to have a fabulous life. Trust me, I have felt the lowest of the lows and the highest of the highs. I've been through all of it. My life has been a shit show, but I'm not a victim. What happened to me happened to me. It made me who I am. But I don't sit around like, I'm a victim and it's not fair and I'm single because of this. No, I'm single because I choose to be. The first initial inclination of being single was not my idea. I did not choose that, but I accepted it and was like, okay, here I am. Then I embraced it. I was like, okay, if I wanted to be in a relationship right away, I could have tried to do that, but I don't want to. I don't want to be in a relationship. I want to be single. I want to be healed. I want to live my life. And when I'm ready to be in a relationship, I will be. But that doesn't mean I'm sitting around like, whoa, it's me. It's not fair that they get to do this. I will say, it is hard when someone hurts you and you get to see them walk away with no consequences. But you also don't know what goes on behind closed doors. I have to tell myself that. I'm not saying in this situation in particular, but just in general, when someone hurts you and they haven't apologized to you and like something just big happened in your life, you're like, what the fuck? Sometimes bad things just happen and God sees them. God knew it was going to happen. God knew it was happening, but he was there for you through it all. And sometimes you just have to sit in the suck and you have to get over it. And you get through it with God. There is an amazing children's book called The Rabbit Listened. And it's this little boy who is building this like block tower. And the block tower one day gets like destroyed. I think like crows come through and knock it over. And he's sitting there in his sadness and his grief and his shock. And, you know, an animal will come up and like start yelling. And oh, the gorilla yelled and didn't do anything. Oh, the snake wanted to like scheme and get back at the crows and it didn't do anything. And finally, this rabbit comes into the picture and it just sits there with this kid. And the rabbit just sits and it gets closer and it gets closer while the kid's in silence. And the rabbit listens. And the kid slowly starts to build back up the blocks after the rabbit listens. And it is such a profound children's, like, it makes me want to cry thinking of this book. Such a profound book about trauma. Sometimes really bad things happen. And you have people in your life who they bring different flavors, we'll say. Many flavors of ice cream. My close friends and family, but you'll get people who are angry, and sometimes you need to go through the anger with them, but other times you just need someone to sit and listen, and that's been God for me. God has sat and God has listened, but God has also acted on my prayers when I have prayed for peace, when I have prayed for just not wanting to feel so abandoned. God has been there to show me you're not abandoned. You've been loved this whole time, and that's incredible. And I get to sit with that and sit as that being 21 years with someone who left me. There are no two ways around it. When you are the one that files for divorce from the woman that gave you 3 kids and you spent half of your life with, when you walk away from that and you leave her, that's on you. And I'll say it. I'll say it until the cows come home. That's on you. But I'm not a victim. I felt abandoned. I felt awful, but it made me cry out to God. And I found God through it all. And I've known God my whole life, but I found him. There's a difference between knowing him and finding him. It's such a weird thing to say, but I found him. In the saddest of the sad and the worst of the worst, I found God. He was there and he wrapped his arms around me and said, "You're going to be okay." And I would not be where I am if not for the shit that I went through. So while horrendous while it was horrendous to go through all of this, it got me to where I am today. And I still have a lot of growth. I still have a lot of stuff to work through. I still have fun to experience in my life. I still have sadness to process in my life. There's a lot that's going to happen in my life, but you wake up every day and you just choose to live and you choose to find happiness and you choose success and love and warmth and you just go for it. If someone has hurt you, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for if they've never apologized to you, just know I'm going to apologize on their behalf. Not on their behalf, but I'm just going to tell you, I'm sorry that happened to you. But also having comfort and knowing sometimes you're not going to get an apology. It's okay. God is there. It's like his love is just abundant. I sound like a crazy preacher right now, but like his love is so abundant that like it makes up for any apology you'd ever get. And honestly, if someone apologized to you after putting you through so much, would it really mean anything? It's not going to change anything. So no, I'm not looking for apologies or, oh, you were right. My life is good. And I was on a path with someone for a long time and I thought we were going in one direction and we weren't. God said, "Nope, you're going down this path instead." And you're like, all right. You want to fight him half the time. You're like, I really don't want to do that. I don't like this, but Jesus, take the wheel. And sometimes you want Jesus to take the wheel and drive your enemies off of a cliff, but that's not always in the plan. All right. Thank you for listening to another episode of Mom Meets Life. Thanks for letting me process that this week. Next week, I have no idea what we're going to talk about, but at least we got through the divorce talk today and I got to tell this crazy story in detail. It's been on my mind this week. So thank you again for listening, and I will see you on the next one.